So we are often given data displayed in a two-way table and asked to determine some probabilities from that table. And these are what we generally refer to as relative frequency probabilities. So what we've done thus far is we've given you some probabilities, and we've used those probabilities to compute other probabilities thereafter, like the probability of B given A, to see if it's equal to the probability of B. Well, in a lot of practical situations, we just have a set of data, and given that set of data, we want to be able to calculate some probabilities. So relative frequencies can be computed whenever we're asked to calculate a probability of obtaining particular outcomes from a set of events that have occurred. So here we have an epidemiologist that was called upon to investigate a case of food poisoning at a company picnic. After interviewing 150 of those who attended the picnic, the epidemiologist constructed the following table. So we can see those who ate potato salad, yeses and nos, and those who got food poisoning, yeses and nos. So for instance, from the table, we see that there were 72 people who both ate the potato salad and got food poisoning. And we see, for instance, that there were 52 people who both did not eat the potato salad and did not get food poisoning. We can see that the totals of our rows, 90 and 60, add up to 150, and that the totals of our columns, 80 and 70, also add up to 150. So we want to use the data that has been obtained to determine some probabilities by calculating some relative frequencies. So we're going to define event A as being the probability that if we randomly select one person, that person got food poisoning. And we're going to define event B to be that if we select one person randomly, that person ate the potato salad. And we want to determine the following probabilities. So first, find the probability that a randomly selected attendee got food poisoning. So we're basically finding the probability of event A. Well, this is back to the basic formula that says take the number of people who got food poisoning and divide by the total number of people in the data set provided. So there were a total of 80 people who got food poisoning out of a total of 150 people altogether. So our relative frequency is our best estimate of the probability that a person got food poisoning. And that is, I think I gave you the wrong total. 90 got food poisoning, out of 150. And so that is equivalent to 90 out of 150, whatever that decimal is. Doesn't matter. You can leave your probabilities as fractions if you so choose. So what if we decided we wanted to determine the probability that a randomly selected attendee ate potato salad? Well, again, you can take the total number of people who ate the potato salad and divide by the total number of people surveyed. There's no condition given. So when there is no condition given, we just divide by the total. Well, there were 80 people who ate the potato salad, and out of a total of 150 people altogether in our data set. So that probability is equal to 80 out of 150. Well, now that we've calculated those relative frequencies, which are our best estimate of probabilities from our set of data, we can answer a question like C. Find the probability that a randomly selected person got food poisoning and ate the potato salad. Well, again, find the number in your two-way table that represents those who both got food poisoning and ate the potato salad. Well, those are the yeses for food poisoning and the yeses for potato salad. That's 72. Again, no condition given, so it's just 72 out of the total, 150. Now the question is, are these events independent of one another? I'm going to move ahead to that. So event A was that they got food poisoning. Event B was that they ate the potato salad, and we want to now know if those events are independent of one another. We probably have the notion that they aren't. Obviously, there may have been something wrong with the potato salad since we're asking this question, did you eat it? And therefore, that might influence the probability that a person would develop food poisoning. So we can use those probabilities that we computed. Probability of A was 90 out of 150. The probability of B was 80 out of 150. And we can use those to determine if these events are independent. We can also use the other rule we just talked about, and that is find the probability that A given B and see if that's the same as the probability of A. So what's the probability that a person got food poisoning given they ate the potato salad? And then let's compare that to just the probability that a person got food poisoning. Well, the A given B would be among those who ate the potato salad, what proportion of them got food poisoning? So we're zooming in just to that column of those who said, yes, I ate the potato salad. There were 80 of them. Among those 80 people, 72 of them got food poisoning. So the probability of A given B is equal to 72 out of 80. If these events are truly independent, that eating the potato salad has no effect on the likelihood that a person gets food poisoning, then it shouldn't matter if they did or did not eat the potato salad. We should see the same proportion of all that got food poisoning. Well, we calculated that previously and found that that was 90 out of 150. So the question is 72 out of the 80 who got food poisoning given they ate the potato salad, the same as the proportion of all who got food poisoning, 90 out of 150. They are not equal, and therefore whether or not a person ate the potato salad had an effect on how likely they were to develop food poisoning. Therefore, they are not independent of one another.